You have questions? We have answers. Welcome to the Therapist Question Box with your host, Miss Lindsay Schiss.
Welcome back to another episode of the Therapist Question Box. I'm your host, Lindsay Schiss, and as always, we're not afraid of your toughest questions, so ask away. Today I have with me Kendee Hamilton. She's a therapist at Therapy Utah that specializes in trauma therapy. Kendee, thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
So today we are going to talk a little bit about holding back, why we don't speak our truth. And we'll just jump right into the question and then we'll dissect it. So here's the question. I hold back a lot in order to keep the peace, but then I notice resentment building up inside of me. How do I speak up without creating conflict or hurting the relationship? Okay, so let's first talk about why. Why do we hold back? Why do you think our listener is holding back?
I think she said it in there. She's afraid of having conflict, and actually we're supposed to have conflict. So we need to let go of that. I think that's the first thing. Conflict is not bad. I'm trained in Gottman, and I love how Gottman, when he first studied couples, because at the time people were doing couples work and there was no research behind it of what are we even doing. So he just studied couples and then gathered all his research from studying couples. And one of the things back before his research was people thought conflict was bad. Those who have lots of conflict, they're not going to, do well in their relationship. And what he found was conflict wasn't the issue. It's how they did their conflict. So having conflict, whether you had a lot of conflict or not a lot of conflict, was not the factor as to whether a couple did well or not. It was literally how they did their conflict. So if you grew up in a home where conflict wasn't modeled, or you don't really know how to do conflict, it can be really scary to go into it. And if you don't have the right tools, it makes sense that viewer probably just maybe doesn't have the tools about conflict. What do I do with this? And so there's a fear of it, so then you stay quiet.
So do we need to back up and really get honest about how we do conflict? What if you don't do conflict well, and every time it ends up, there's no repair, it actually ends up worse than it was before? Well, then there's a reason for that, right? So it seems like we need to peel back the onion a little bit and say, okay, maybe we need to do some work around how are you doing conflict? How do you repair? How are there parameters in the conversation that create safety? And if there's not, then maybe there's a reason, there's some fear.
Oh, yeah. I think also when we don't have the right skill set, we're going to be afraid. You're about to play basketball, but if you don't know how to do some of the things, you're going to be afraid to do it. The more skills you have, the more, confident you feel going into that. So when I'm thinking of, relationships or couples, partnerships, and I work with couples, that's one of the things I also love working with, is a lot of it is just skill building. Let's give them the skills. Do you know how to actively listen? Do you know how to do empathy? Do you know how to not have the horsemen? So, and we'll talk about that for a second. Gottman found that there's these 4 horsemen that will just destroy a relationship, and they come up during conflict. So, when the couple's going along in their day, everything's great, they're fine. It's when they aren't getting along, a lot of times these horsemen will come up, and if they do, and they don't get changed, then they will destroy the relationship. That's why they're horsemen. And the cool part is all of them are changeable. So if you have horsemen happening in your relationship, you can learn the skills to do it different, to not have the horsemen. So the 4 horsemen are criticism, contempt, stonewalling, and defensiveness. And when those are present, if you're doing conflict and those are present with you or with the other person, it's going to be a mess. It's not going to go well. And Gottman I think he can meet with a couple, and within 5 minutes, he can determine, based on how many horsemen are coming up, whether the relationship will last or not.
Wow. So it's stonewalling, contempt, defensiveness, and what was the last one?
Criticism.
Criticism. Okay. So can you tell us, and for anyone that doesn't know, what is stonewalling?
Okay. So in all of these, obviously you can like look this up too. You can like get into some Gottman stuff. He has blogs and like he's got some really great stuff. But stonewalling, it can look several different ways. It's literally like I'm not present with you. So it can look like you're talking to your person and they're in the room with you, but they are not listening to you. They're just, maybe their arms are folded and they're checked out. You might as well be talking to a wall, right? They're stonewalling you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other way that it manifests a lot of times is when someone just walks out of the room. You're just like, they're not even there, or they leave and they don't tell you where they're going. And you have no idea where they're going, if they're going to come back, when they're going to come back, if you're going to even get back to this conversation or not. And it holds a lot of power. So when someone stonewalls, they're kind of taking over the power. I'm not present with you. I'm not going to be here with you. And Gottman hooked everybody up to like heart monitors and sweat machines. Like, so he's a very like, body researcher even. And he found stonewalling was incredibly, incredibly difficult for the person receiving it. Their nervous system is not okay. And even the person doing it, they're a little bit more okay just because they're kind of checked out, but it's still not good for their body. And so you're in this relationship with this person, but there's no reassurance happening. There's no, hey, I'm gonna come back to this. So those are kind of the typical ways that stonewalling manifests itself. Yes,
that makes a lot of sense. I don't know if you remember the still-faced experiment by Ed Tronick.
Yes,
and right? For the listeners that don't know, it's a really powerful video where a mom is interacting normally with her baby, just talking, smiling, and then she goes completely unresponsive with a blank face. And the baby immediately becomes distressed and does everything to try to get the mom's attention back by smiling and pointing and doing all these things. And it really was amazing and showed how important emotional attunement is, right? Like that even this short period of disconnection was so stressful to this baby that this baby was doing anything to try to get that attention back, right? So
and that engagement. Yeah.
Yes, like that you see me, that what I'm saying matters, that you care. And so as you're talking about stonewalling, that's what came to my mind, that mother's face was just stone cold. And that how important when a person is feeling stonewalled, it is such a disconnecting and really like from an attachment perspective, it feels so disconnecting, right? And so stonewalling, I again, let's go through those again. Stonewalling, defensiveness, contempt, and criticism, that all of those things, if this is how we're arguing or we're having conflict, I shouldn't say arguing, but conflict, that there's going to be a problem, that it's pretty clear. And this might be maybe why the listener is holding back, because maybe those things are present in the conversation.
Right. Yeah. Stonewalling, I just want to add like a little piece to it. And I don't know if we want to I can also give the solution. Maybe we can talk about each one and then give the solution with it.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Just so it's like, oh, they know what the stonewalling is and here's the answer. Like, because all of these are fixable. Like that doesn't have to be there. Stonewalling can also even look like day-to-day interaction. Let's say there's not conflict, but you're talking to your person and they just never hear you. Right? Like you have to repeat yourself several times, or you're telling them like, hey, do you remember when I told you X, Y, Z? And they're like, what? When did you say that? And they're just not present with you in like the connection or the relationship. You're going to feel that as like a stone wall. It's going to feel like I don't exist to you. And so it can be in conflict, but it can also be just in day-to-day kind of life. And so all of these actually can also manifest outside of conflict. They usually just aren't as painful outside of conflict. But like, you've got to be mindful of them too. Like, oh, am I being pretty checked in or present when people, when my partner's talking to me, or am I, watching the TV and just totally zoned out, every single time. So you've got to like look for it in both ways, but in conflict, it'll be really heightened and like you're going to just feel it and see it like pretty big. The antidote or the thing for stonewalling is being present. And if you're flooded, right? So the person who is stonewalling, the reason they're doing it is they're flooded. It's too much. I can't take this anymore. I don't know what to do. I can't fix this. I'm out. So So they're either sitting there checked out on a wall because they're just like, whatever you're saying, I can never make you happy, or I can't do anything right. They're just like, they don't know what to do. They feel helpless a little bit stuck or trapped. And so their only go-to response is, I have to shut down.
Yes.
And they'll either leave the room or stay in the room, but they leave the room, like, as far as presence goes.
Yes. And something I think is important to remember is when we, you know, if you get flooded or a partner gets flooded, what is it? It's really like a response to just overwhelm, right? It's just trying to get our nervous system back into a state of regulation. So, but in that, it's overwhelming, right? So, you know, and when you say like an antidote to that is presence, I also think, but sometimes before that, we need to just say, you know what, I need a break. I need to take a break. I'm just feeling overwhelmed. It's too much. And ask for a break. Not like you're abandoning the conversation, but just that you need some time to get back to a state where you can be present and engaged.
100%. And that is the other piece of the antidote. So it's like, you've got to be present, but like, you've got to reassure your partner. I really care about what you have to share with me. I'm feeling flooded, or I'm having a really hard time staying present here. I'm going to go. You got to tell them what you're doing. Reassure them. This is your partner. This is the person you're like, you care to be with, and like you're on the same team. You've got to let them know, I'm going to go drive for 10 minutes, or I'm going to go on a walk, or I'm going to, I think I actually need to sleep this one off. I had the worst day today, and I don't think I have the bandwidth for this conversation, but I want to do this, and this is when I will come back. So you need to reassure the person that you care about what we're talking about, because you're leaving them. You're saying, I can't do this anymore. So you've got to let them know, I do want to hear this, even though you might be like, I don't want to hear this. You still have to be like, you have to let them know, like, I do want to do this with you, because they're bringing it up. You've got to be like, okay, I want to do this with you. Let me sleep this off, or let me come back to it. And Gottman's recommendation is within 24 hours. So within 24 hours, you need to be coming back to it. And the person who stops the conversation needs to be the person that re-engages the conversation. So if I need to walk away, I can't leave it up to my partner to come back to me and be like, now are you ready? And now can we have that conversation? Like, that's not fair, and it doesn't feel good. If I'm like, I need to take a break, and I need to let them know within 24 hours when I'm going to come back to it. Tomorrow at 5 o'clock, let's try this again. Then it's on me tomorrow at 5 o'clock to come back to the conversation. If it's 5:01, my partner is going to be like, do they not care? Are they going to come back? What does this mean? Right? Like, you're leaving them again stonewalled. Now let's say it's 5 o'clock and you just had, again, the worst day ever, and you're like, I can't do this. Let them know. It doesn't mean you have to do it within 24 hours. You just need to be checking in with your person every 24 hours. Now, if you're getting dysregulated every single 24 hours and you just cannot get through it, you might need some help. You might need to you know what, I think we actually might need to see a specialist, a couples therapist, because my window of tolerance is I can't do this conversation.
Yeah. It's just
and that's much. Okay too. It might be too much and you might need the help, but the answer is, we're not going to just ignore this. We're not going to just shove it under the rug. We're going to actually course correct this. What can often happen is couples will get into a rhythm, right? Like, you get up, you get going, you're doing your thing, and last night's thing was really, really touchy and rough, and we stopped the conversation, and they'll be hesitant to go back to that really hard thing again. You have to go back to it. You can't just
go back to it. And again, this is why maybe the listener is saying, I don't want to have this conversation. This might be what has happened, and there's no reason, because one, it feels like, oh, you don't care. And two, the problem's never solved anyway. So why would you, right? So understanding, okay, we've got to go back to it. What is the antidote for defensiveness?
Okay. So, and I'm going to talk just for, most people kind of think oh, I know what defensiveness is, but it is about kind of I'm defending, or I'm in a disagreement, but it also can look like, no, I don't want you to feel that way. Your partner's like, I'm really sad you didn't take out the trash. And you're like, no, I took it out. Or I'm going to take it out. You don't need to be sad. And in that, you're defensive. You're not joining your partner's emotion. You're not joining them of I'm so sorry I made you feel sad. That must have been frustrating to see the trash there, and I told you I would take it out and I didn't.
Totally.
Right? So a lot of times defensiveness looks like trying to manage the other person's emotions. Don't be sad. Don't feel that way. That's not what I meant. You hurt my feelings. Oh, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. That's defensiveness. It just doesn't
so invalidating,
sound like what you're used to. Yes.
Yes, so invalidating, because even though they didn't mean to take the garbage out, or they're going to, this person's experience is still valid, and it was painful that they were ignored, or that that their need didn't matter to their partner, right? So it feels so invalidating. So what is a healthy alternative?
Yeah. So with defensiveness, a lot of it is joining your team. So I talk with my clients often about intent versus impact. So your intention is always good. I just believe like everybody's intention is good. No one walks around in the world and it's like, let me, make a mess. Let me go hurt people's feelings. But so much we get stuck in, but that was not my intention. I didn't mean for this, or I have a different perspective. That's the other piece we can get caught in of like, but I saw it this other way. So you see it wrong. If you could just join me, you wouldn't feel sad. Or if you could, right? So this defensiveness is like, you have it wrong. Here's how it really went down. And you just need to stay with like, what was my impact? And I might have a whole different perspective. The antidote to defensiveness is finding how you can join your partner. What could I agree with them on? And a lot of times you can always agree on their emotion. If your partner says, I feel sad, it's their emotion. I feel really sad about the garbage. And you're like, I took the garbage out. Like in your mind, your perspective is I did. And she's like, no, you didn't. You're like, okay, but I am so sorry. I made you feel sad. I can join you there. Find a way to join them. And like, then you may like, let's say sometimes couples in this defensiveness piece, like they first need to hear each other out and like join each other's team. Sometimes you have to then collect some data. I feel like I do take the garbage out all the time. I feel like you never take the garbage out. You've got two different perspectives that if it's once in a while, you can kind of roll with that. But if this thing's happening every single time and one party sees it one way and the other party sees it the exact opposite way, you're going to run into defensiveness all the time, right? So it's like, I can join you, but like, how do we resolve this? Sometimes you might need to collect some data and be like, hey, we're just going to see what's actually happening here, because one of us is seeing it maybe in a different way. And once you can collect that data in a kind and gentle, non-judgmental way, you're just getting curious. Maybe you set up a camera and you're like, let's just see what happens this week. And then you're like, oh, like this is what's going on here. Once you can then agree, like you're trying to find a space where it's like, we can hold space for this thing that's happening, then couples can find a resolution all on their own, usually.
As you're saying that, a kind and gentle way and stay in curiosity, I think that is so hard to do, to stay in that curiosity and to be gentle, because boy, especially if there's defensiveness, you feel the need, there's a reason you're defending, like you're defending something feels like you've got to protect or defend, right? And so doing those things and staying in curiosity requires so much vulnerability. And that is that is so, I don't want to say painful, but hard. It is hard. I mean, it requires trust that you're not going to just, again, like, okay, I'm trying to be vulnerable and you're just going to fillet me like a fish. Like that your partner is going to actually recognize that and be gentle in return. Yes. And that's takes a lot of trust and vulnerability. That's hard.
And I think it gets hard if you've had patterns for a long time where you did kind of attack each other, or you did come in with negative assumption, or you did do it not very gently. And so learning how to get gentle with each other again, and remembering constantly, we're on the same team. This is my person. They're not my enemy. They're not against me. Like, we both want the garbage to get taken out. We both want to, be able to function in this household in a good way. We both have a lot of the same things. That's why we partnered together. You have to assume the best in your person, and the other person needs to also assume the best, so that you're coming at it from a very gentle approach with each other.
I love that. Assume the best in each other, right? I often say that to my teenage son. I'll say, listen, I'm on your team. I promise you I'm on your team. It may not feel like it, but I am on your team, please. Like I am not on an opposite team. I want to help you in all the ways, and it may not feel like it, right? But I think that reminder is so good. Yeah. So now let's talk about contempt. Contempt is one of the more dangerous ones, which is like speaking down to someone, sarcasm or disrespect. Contempt is painful. So what is another alternative to contempt?
Yeah. And again, I want to talk a little bit, I'd like to talk about the nuances of these, because I think they come up where we're like, oh, I don't have contempt. I don't do that one. And then I'll explain some of the other things, and you're like, oh wait, yeah, I do have that one. Because it shows up in like ways that we might not think about. And I think with contempt, a lot of times it's our body language. So contempt, criticism too can also be in our body language, but contempt for sure. It's those like, ugh, or the eye rolls, or how you're sitting when you're talking to your person. So if I'm sitting with my partner and we're going to have this conflict conversation, we have to like change our body a little bit. And I'll do that often, like with couples. I'm like sitting with them and I'm like, can you just make your bodies a little softer? What would you do if you wanted your body to just look a little bit softer and a little bit more like inviting with this person that you're sitting with? And like they'll adjust their body just a little bit, and it changes everything.
Again, I love that reminder of your nonverbal cues matter, like they do. And again, though, but when you say softening is also vulnerable, right? Like you're putting yourself in a more vulnerable position, and that is hard. Like that takes courage. That reminder, like that doesn't just happen, and it's no big deal. There's a reason that they're kind of buttoned up. It's protective, right? If you've got your arms and your legs crossed and you're sitting away or whatever, there's a protection there. So to say, hey, turn towards each other, like see how you can engage a little more. I so appreciate that. And also like recognizing like that is a step of courage that can feel really vulnerable.
Yeah. And you can use all of these are also things that happen with like any relationship. So if you're in a work environment or with your kids, like contempt and like really being mindful of your body language, like meeting a person in like the softest approach you possibly can. You're never going to regret that.
Yeah.
Because it just lands better. Like, hey, I need to talk to you. Like my kids, I often will get below them, because it, like if I'm saying something and I'm above them, it's going to land different than if I go sit down below them or sit like where they're at, go meet them right where they're at. It changes how that feels for that person. And it's just like a little tiny little shift.
Yep. And I've actually heard that people, I love that idea of sitting below them, right? That actually like the power differential of parent versus child is all of a sudden a little more equalized when you're sitting below them. I've also heard that people talk about having hard conversations, and it's a little bit gimmicky, but may work laying down. Because it's like they're, that power differential is gone, but also recognizing like, when you lay down, you're in a vulnerable position actually. And so it kind of requires that vulnerability and that softness, like right out of the gates. I haven't done it before, but I've heard that. So yeah.
I've not tried that, but it's true. Because if you're laying down, it's a relaxed position for your body. It might force you into like a more relaxed state, which is so good. Again, all of these things can be changed. Instead of having contempt, and obviously like that also can come out in like name calling or, belittling or joking. So sarcasm also tends to come in with contempt, or jokes. I was just joking. Why can't you take a joke? Jokes. I always say like jokes are only funny if everyone's laughing.
Yeah.
If anyone's not liking it, then it's causing harm. It's now hurting the relationship. Like don't do that. And it's not about like, they just need to get thicker skin. No, we need to not do that because it's causing harm.
Yes, absolutely. So the last one is criticism, right? I think we know, like, it's maybe feels like we're attacking the person and not just the behavior. Tell me more about criticism and what's a healthy alternative?
Yeah, a lot of times with criticism, you're using you statements, or you might be doing always and nevers. You always do this, you never do this. It's picking at your partner rather than asking them to join in. Because when you're in a relationship with someone, they're going to drive you crazy. Like that's just part of it. Like you're going to have conflict. You partner with someone, and it really a lot of times it's like that yin yang, right? Like we are different, we're the same, but we're so different. Like, and I got with you because of the way you see the world. But then the way they see the world is going to drive you crazy. You're going to be like, why can't you do it my way? Why can't you see it my way? And so criticism comes in from a place of like, that attacking, whether you're attacking them or you're kind of using language that's against them. And the whole point of conflict is to say, we're together. We have this thing that came up. We have this bill. And like, maybe we have this, like, we have to make a decision about our yard. And you want to do it this way, but I want to do it this way. And instead of just staying, like this person who wrote in, like maybe they just tend to stay really quiet. They're not actually in a good relationship then, though, because there's not, like, there needs to be that, like, difference of opinions and perspectives so that you can come to some sort of collaboration that works for both of you. Like, you're not single, you're not just doing it yourself. And like, if you're with another person, but you're not ever speaking up, or if you're the only one speaking up, like, you want to have a collaboration. That was the whole point of getting together and partnering. You want a partnership. And so criticism is about just like making them kind of your enemy, instead of like drawing them in. And so a lot of that comes down with language, the way you're saying things. You need to be very mindful, again, with tone, but like a lot of times the criticism is the verbiage and the way you say it. So even little things like, I'm so sorry you feel sad. Yeah. You know, like versus, I'm sorry I made you feel sad. I care about you. And gosh, like I'm hurting that, like I made you feel sad. And like, I definitely don't want you to feel sad. Let's figure this out. But the criticism is like, well, you're sad.
Yep.
And
your problem.
Fix it. Yeah. It's kind of, it's an othering. It's a me against you rather than we're together, joint, partnered, teamwork, energy.
Yeah. Such a good reminder that there is an energy around it, right? And also, in fact, on the podcast a few weeks ago, I can't remember who said it, but it has stuck with me in my own life that behind every criticism is an unmet need. Yeah. And I just think that is so powerful, because when we criticize, there's something else going on there. I mean, that's what our partner's hearing, but there is a need that is not met. And to recognize, okay, what is going on for me that I feel the need to criticize? There is something going on here where I feel like this is my only way to get this need met. But when we can get clear, like, this is the actual need and this is what's going on, boy, that has got to provide so much clarity and actually be so much more productive than just criticizing, right? So,
yeah. Well, and it's huge, because it's like, maybe when you find out what that unmet need is, then it's like, how can I say this in a way that invites like partnership? Mm-hmm. Hey, when you don't text me where you're going and I don't know where you are, that really scares me.
Mm-hmm. That's so different than you never text and you always are late. And it so easily can come there instead of what you just said. Like, it scares me.
I get really scared when I don't know where you are. And what I would really love is if you just sent me a quick text. And you might, I know for you it's not a big deal, but for me it is. And if I got that text, I would feel so much better in my body. Could you do that for me?
Yes.
And maybe he's like, or she's like, well, I can't do that, but what I could do is ... And like, you can problem solve it. Like, even if you get your need out there, that doesn't mean the other person has to be like, all right, I have to meet this need. It's, I hear you. That need is always valid. What you need is valid. And, I want to give that to you, but I really don't know that I could do that. Maybe someone's like, I need you to text me 7 times a day. And you're like, that is so valid. I hear you. You need me to text you 7 times a day. Because maybe you're feeling insecure with me, or maybe you're feeling, disconnected from me. Yes. With my work environment, I couldn't do that. But you know what? I think I'm only texting you once a day. I could probably do like 3 times. And like, is there a certain time in the day that would really land bigger than other times? Like, how can I get the most bang for my buck with these 3 times that I can text you? And what you're doing is collaborating. You matter, I matter. This thing that we've got to figure out, we've got to just get creative of like, how do we make this work functionally for both of us?
And that it's not, my needs matter more than yours, your needs matter more than mine. No, both of our needs matter. And I think, I love that word, is collaborate. That we're collaborating and that we're trying to come to, like, both of our needs matter. Both of those things, and the need is important. We're not getting rid of either one of them, and we're not trying to diminish the needs, right? Yeah. We're actually saying, let's collaborate and figure it out together. It's not a compromise. Collaborate and compromise are very different, right? Yeah. Collaborate says, let's elevate together. Let's figure it out together, right? So, I think one of the key takeaways is that it's the key is not to avoid conflict. It's actually to learn how to engage in conflict well. And the understanding that it's, again, we're not looking to be right, but the relationship is really what matters, and that we're trying to get to preserve, to be stronger. And that when we don't speak up, what happens? I often like to think of it like emotions are like a pressure cooker. Like if you suppress what you feel, what happens? Pressure just builds up, and eventually it has to escape somewhere. And it's usually explosive, and it's unexpected. But if we can speak what's going on for us, it's like releasing that steam in just a controlled way, it keeps that cooker from blowing its lid, right? And I just think that when we choose to do that, we are saying the relationship matters, and it may be uncomfortable, but this is the priority, that I don't want to explode like that pressure cooker, but that I'm taking time, and that the steam is going to be let off in a controlled way. And the things that you gave us, those Gottman reminders of contempt, understanding why we do contempt, criticism, defensiveness, and stonewalling, and recognizing that there are healthier alternatives to those things. But the first and foremost is to recognize when we're doing them, that they can show up. And like you said, when we get in a pattern of doing it, and this is the way that we've done conflict for so long, we have to do some relearning. We have to retrain ourselves and our partners to show up better in conflict. So Kendee, is there anything else that we haven't discussed that you feel like is important to share with our listeners?
Yes, I kind of wanted to end with, for this viewer who's shoved stuff for so long and like hasn't brought up conflict, and other viewers who are like, I've tried these things and it's not working, and like you have another person involved, right? Like you can learn all the tools, but if the other partner doesn't learn the tools, like you're kind of like, it's not really going to work. So my biggest recommendation is go find someone who is a couples therapist that's trained in research-backed couples work. There's not, just because a therapist is trained in providing therapy doesn't mean that they're trained in what works for couples. Couples is all about skills. Like I went through a few skills. Even these skills that I went over isn't going to fix everything, because you get caught in these patterns of functioning together in a relationship, and most of the time when it's been for years and years, it's really hard to undo those in a way that like goes well. And you need that like coaching, that like, let's come back. How did we do? What did we practice? What came up for us? Oh, well, we tried this and this is what we got hit with, and here's where we're at. Okay, let's try it again, and let's get you some more tools. Couples and relationships really is about building tools, building skills. And you might even need to do a little of your own individual work, because gosh, I don't even have a window of tolerance for these tools. So it's kind of important to seek that help, because you can read all the manuals, but sometimes you're like, I just need that like individual coaching. And me and my partner get caught in these like patterns, and someone from the outside will be able to go, oh, right here, this is contempt. And you're like, oh, I didn't even realize I was rolling my eyes, because we'll be doing stuff and we don't even know it.
Yes. And when you say that, getting some extra help, part of that is just having an outside perspective that can actually observe what's going on. Sometimes when we're in it, we're too emotional to even understand that, oh my gosh, I have been so critical for so long. It's hard to do that, right? It's hard to really zoom out and see yourself, but a therapist, an expert can help you in that. So such a good reminder. I hope today's conversation gave this listener some practical tools, and I hope all of you to navigate through tough conversations while keeping your relationship strong, and remembering that conflict is not to be avoided, but doing conflict well is the goal. And reminding yourself that at the end of the day, relationships thrive on openness and understanding, and not by avoidance. Avoiding tough topics does not work. I'm going to start over again. At the end of the day, relationships thrive on openness and understanding, and not by avoiding tough topics. Our goal is not to avoid conflict, but it's to do conflict better. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends, rate and review, and we will see you next time.